Hello everyone and welcome. Back in the days of the settlers, they said that a town wasn't well established until it had a blacksmith. And just about everybody who lives the prepared lifestyle wants a forge of some type, including myself. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to build a no-cost forge / fire pit. And I'm going to use a rim that I believe is off of a logging truck that I found out in the woods several years ago hunting. And for the legs, I'm going to use like some 1-inch rebar that I have laying around. So let's get started. So here's the two-piece rim that I'm going to use for this project. And I found this out in the woods several years ago. And I believe it was on a logging truck. And as you can see, it suffered some catastrophic failure right here. And I believe that's why they left it in the woods. This rim is 17.5 inches in diameter. And it's about 11 inches deep. The first thing I'm going to do with this rim is I'm going to take and repair this damage. So I'm not going to do a total cleanup right now, but I am going to clean up this edge and then figure out a way to take and push this back down and weld it back in place. I didn't have a clamp strong enough to close the gap between the broken ring of the rim and the rim itself. So I took my high lift jack and reversed the lifting lug right here and then ratcheted it back down over a piece of wood so that it would close that gap up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld right here, and then I'll have to take and move it, weld it over here, and then do the other side. So next, I think I'm going to put that back ring back on here. So I got my ring back on my rim and I straightened it up a little bit, but it's still a little bit off. So I'm going to start here and tack weld, move my vice grips, tack weld, so forth and so on, all the way around the rim till I get it back on there the way I want it. I've got the rear locking ring welded in place, and I also made some covers and welded them up to cover up those side holes. This is primarily going to be used as a fire pit, but I also want to use it as a forge, and I don't want it sitting real high off the ground. So I'm going to turn this into a side blast forge. So I cut a 1-inch hole where the valve stem was, and then a 1-inch hole through this plate, and then inserted a piece of galvanized pipe, and that's what I'm going to use to force the air into the forge. Next, I'm going to make an ash dump, and I've got a piece of 1/8 inch plate steel, and I've got just kind of a design that I'm going to cut out. And it's going to mount through one of the bolt holes, and it'll just pivot when I want to dump the ashes out of it rather than have to turn the whole thing over. I got the pieces for my ash dump cut out, got the handle cut out, drilled, got the two sides cut out, and all I got to do is weld it together. I got the ash dump finished. Now all I need to do is start working on the stand. For the legs of this fire pit / forge, I'm going to use some 1-inch rebar, and I'm going to use 4 legs, and as you can see, I've already bent one of them just to see how it's going to fit. Now I'm going to take and bend the rest. I got the legs bent up. Now I can take and clean up the rim and get ready to weld these to the rim and then paint everything. So here's the layout of how my legs are going to mount to my rim, and I'm just going to use the bolt holes as a reference. Now that I've got it painted and assembled, I'm going to try to use it as a forge. I made a plate out of sheet metal to cover up the bolt holes when I use this as a forge. So the forge actually worked. It was able to heat up that 1-inch rebar. I don't have an anvil and blacksmithing tools yet, so I didn't get to do any hammering to see how well it worked. Now for the air supply for this forge, I actually used my little 1-gallon compressor because I didn't have a bellows, and I plan on making one later on, because in the end I want this forge to be completely off-grid, meaning, you know, I don't have to use my compressor or fans or anything like that. The only cost that I have in this build is the half a bag of lump charcoal that I used, and I started the fire with just, you know, some sticks and pieces of wood and things like that from cleaning up the yard, you know, tree limbs that break off and things like that, and it worked really well. I imagine if I went with, you know, the full bag of charcoal, it'd probably work even better, but that's kind of the fun of doing something like this, is, you know, tweaking it, learning how it works and things like that. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see y'all next time.